Beyond the Wild. This will be a fun one. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. Tonight I am joined with my talented co-host, Jason Loftus. How's it going?
It's going really good. I'm excited for tonight's episode. This is going to be fun. You already started it off right.
Jason and I, just to put the disclaimer out at the beginning of this show, we are the best of friends, and no matter what is said tonight, it's all water under the bridge. It's just a podcast. It won't affect us after that.
Hopefully.
Oh, there it is. I was waiting for affirmation, not question.
Shots fired.
Okay. Well, tonight, Ron Hayes is not here, unfortunately, but we are joined with a fantastic friend of the podcast who you'll all remember from days past, who you may have seen in the field, who you admire his images of, and who is in a very different location than Jason and I. This gentleman is going to moderate today's podcast. Welcome, Drew Hamilton. Hey,
thank you, gentlemen. It's good to reconnect with you both, even if it is just digitally. I'm really looking forward to this debate. I'd gotten a text a few days ago from Ron in a panic. He told me that you guys were having this beef, and that there was this debate going to happen. And frankly, I think he was just scared. And he just didn't want to be in the middle of it, so he decided to call in the big guns to help moderate this debate. And I think listeners have been anxiously awaiting this debate. It might be the debate they didn't know they needed to hear. But anyway, we're going to get to the bottom of it tonight. Could you guys tell me what we're talking about? What are we doing here?
We are going to be discussing the differences between whitetail and mule deer, and ultimately trying to determine and come up with which one is better. So this could get interesting. I think this could be a heated debate, and even amongst our listeners, I bet you there's some differing opinions. So again, Mark and I will remain friends through this, I promise. And please remember that we are both taking a side, so this is all in fun. But
slam.
Well, and Yes. And I also, I was wondering if you guys had laid out parameters for victory. Like, how are we going to know who wins? Are people going to have to comment on social media with who the winner will be? And then we won't even know who won for maybe several weeks, potentially.
That's a possibility. We were thinking that you, the esteemed moderator, would be the decision maker upon the conclusion of the episode. But,
just declare it.
Yeah, we're happy to engage our listeners. And if you have strong feelings about which is better as a species, as a photography subject, for any sort of reasons, whitetail deer or mule deer, I mean, they're both pretty iconic. Share it with us. Let us know. We'd be happy to share some of those in the future and hear what you have to say.
Well, and though I will have decided the victor tonight, they can still vote. They can still weigh in on social media. We could revisit it later. We'll see if we want to make any modifications based on vote counts, but I will be the decider. So I've been giving this some thought, and you guys know me, and I'm from up north a lot of time. Spent a lifetime in Alaska, and now I live in Churchill, Manitoba. And so when the debate comes up between whitetail and mule deer, my first question is, so what's the difference?
Ouch. Okay. Well, and this is why you're the perfect moderator for it. I mean, you have so much wildlife experience, but maybe haven't been knee deep in whitetails and mule deer, right? Right. Well, folks, there's no difference. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode.
It's a tie. Till next week.
See,
no, but for people who are maybe new to it or don't have a lot of deer experience, like you're looking at them. One, how do you even go back to basics? How do How do you tell them apart in the field? What are you looking for in the different habitats? Maybe we'll start with on the whitetail side of things,
Yeah.
and which means Mark, you're going to be first, given a life history or something on a whitetail.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah, and we know historically that I come from whitetail photography roots in wildlife photography, and Jason in Utah. I mean, everybody hears again and again and again how much he loves elk, right? And the elk rut. But we know deep down inside, mule deer are very, very close to that for him. So this will be emotional for him. And, I'll try to remain professional on it. And whitetail deer, I mean, they are probably without a doubt, the most widely distributed ungulate in North America, the most successful, and the most varied habitats. I've done 2 books on whitetail deer. I should know my stuff, but I'm trying to recall cobwebs out of the way. There's like 28 subspecies of whitetail deer. They range from the southern Yukon all the way into South America. The key deer in Florida are tiny, which is a subspecies of whitetail deer, and those in Canada are very robust, living further north. Variety of habitats, seasonality, so many behaviors to photograph year-round for whitetail deer, and they're a challenge, right? Because their senses eclipse ours. It's embarrassing how much better they are at smell and hearing and sight. They pick up movement. They're a challenge to photograph, and it makes it very exciting, and not to mention how fast they are. So that's a little intro into the amazing, ubiquitous, living everywhere, but not necessarily seen that often, depending where you live, of course, white-tailed deer.
Okay, well, so that is broad strokes whitetail. Okay, team mule deer, go.
Yeah, so mule deer, I would agree with everything Mark said. First of all, mule deer are very environment specific, actually. They have chosen to call the Rocky Mountain West their home, mainly. They're distributed throughout the states as well, but that is their main area of environment. They actually have quite a few subspecies as well, nowhere near 28, but there are multiple subspecies, and I actually had to look this up. I wish I could say I knew it off the top of my head, but you've got actually the black-tailed deer. You got both the Sitka black-tailed deer and the Columbian black-tailed deer. And you have the California mule deer, the desert mule deer, the southern mule deer, and peninsular mule deer. There's actually a couple more, but that gives you an idea that there are some subspecies as well. But they are much less in numbers. I think actually I looked up some numbers, and I don't know what the whitetails are, but the mule deer are probably around 40 million in number, roughly. And I think whitetail are around 300 million or something like that, Mark. I could be wrong. I don't remember off the top of my head, but sorry for the background noise, guys. We got the F-35s flying again tonight, so that's a common theme lately. But
aren't those supposed to be stealth?
Yeah, no, these bad
like,
boys.
I can hear them from here.
Maybe detection there still, but as far as the sound, no, you hear them coming from quite a ways away. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Mule deer have bigger ears than whitetail. It's why they get their name, the mule deer. They look like a mule's ears, and they have superior senses. I didn't know if you knew this, Mark, but they actually can do deep water detection. They can detect water up to 2 feet underground. So some pretty unique features about the mule deer. They've chosen the high country. They can survive in a much more harsh environment, generally speaking, than a whitetail can. So there's some interesting things about whitetail or the mule deer that separate them from the whitetail for sure.
So are they using those antlers as divining rods, or how does that work?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I like that. That's a good one.
It paints a fun visual anyway. Yeah. So Mark, with the whitetails, where's most of your whitetail? I mean, you've done books and you have a wealth of information on whitetails. Where have you spent most of your time watching whitetails?
Well, historically, I started out in eastern Canada in Ontario and also in New York State in the Adirondack Mountains. Both have wonderful deciduous forests and conifer forests as well, but the autumn foliage changing through those landscapes in the Adirondacks was an amazing place to photograph, as well as Ontario, as people know. It's a highlight. I mean, with both these species, there are many times a year that I hope we get into to some degree when they're wonderful to photograph for various reasons. But the most marketable is at their peak physical condition in autumn during the rut, and fall color just makes that pop as well. And I've spent probably in the last 15 years, spent a lot of time out west with them as well, and overlapped with mule deer when they photobombed my frame.
Accidental exposure there by a mule deer.
I love mule deer too, but this is fun. Let's roll.
So and Jason, where have you spent most of your time photographing mule deer then?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the Intermountain West. It's, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Nevada. Those are the places where you can find a pretty large population of mule deer in general. But they stretch into California and Oregon and Washington and, all over New Mexico has a pretty good population as well. So anyways, they're anywhere basically out west is where I have spent most of my time with mule deer. And usually it's kind of a mix. Like, that's one thing that's fun about mule deer is you can get them up in the high country. They'll stay up in the higher country in the snow, in the junipers and the pines and the aspens. And even in the winter, if the snow's not too deep, and as long as they can access forage, and but you can find them down into the low country as well. So they've adapted very well to living in rural areas with mixed in with houses and people and stuff like that. And they've had to, just because of the winter range, the people, the lack of winter range and the expansion of, building and homes and things of that nature. So that's where you find them most of the time.
Okay. And so with the mule deer, what kind of fieldcraft do you have to employ? Are you going like full ghillie suits, or are these roadside photo ops? Like what do people looking to photograph mule deer, what do they need to know ahead of time that they're getting into that they might need to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, ghillie suit's a little extreme, but
it looks cool.
It does look cool. No, you want to look good when you're photographing for sure. So
it always helps in those suburban settings, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to wear the ghillie suit in the suburban setting. You might stand out too much there, but yeah.
Not if you're doing it right.
Right. No, honestly, yeah, it's more about how you approach them. Sometimes there are some areas where there's some roadside opportunities for sure, and I think that holds true for whitetails as well. And then there's other times when it's more of a, get away from the roads and get out into the back country a little bit more. And when you're, with those types of mule deer, it's a little bit more of a tricky game. You got to be careful about your approach, pay attention to the wind, don't become a predator, let yourself be known. Actually, from my experience, I found that to be a better strategy, is to not be hiding and let yourself be known, but don't approach them directly. Things like that. That's pretty common with most ungulates. Let them get comfortable with you. Approach slowly when they're paying attention to you. Stop when they put their head down and feed. You can approach more, but don't approach directly. Don't make eye contact. There's things like that actually work very effectively with most ungulates, and they're no different. And you might find some mule deer that are very tolerant and will put up with that, and you'll find others that won't. They don't want anything to do with you. So.
And Mark, how does that compare with whitetail fieldcraft? Like what are the tricks to the trade with the whitetails?
Oh, it's much more complex. I start with building a bunker. I dig a big pit, and just so my eyes are above ground. And sometimes with the articulating rear view screens on our mirrorless cameras now, I can tip it and hold the camera up above my head, above the foliage on the ground and the dirt. And I have like a little turret, and I can spin it and get all 360, and then I just wait. Yeah. and they're crepuscular, so they're active at dawn and dusk most often, the rut being the exception, and where they're active all day because it's a frenzied time of year to procreate. But
Mark, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
are you in the bunker right now?
yeah, if you were watching on YouTube, you would see whether I was in the bunker or not.
It's a pretty nice bunker.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
He's roughing it, ladies and gentlemen.
the cupola is up top, and that's where it breaks the surface. And this is home base, for whitetail photography, right? Yeah. All kidding aside, it's a fun idea. It could work. It could. But the trick, pro tip, hack photography for any species is finding places where you can see them, right? There are mule deer and white-tailed deer and every other, mammal and bird across North America that we have opportunities to photograph them when they are afraid, and we get lucky now and then, or there's places that we can go where we have an opportunity of seeing more. And as Jason was saying, some will be timid, some will not, and you just make the best of each opportunity. And his directions, Drew, apply to whitetails too, as far as the approach. And it is something, when I see somebody trying to sneak up on these animals, and not anybody I know, this isn't directed at anybody, but I've seen photographers in the past. One gentleman, this was years ago. No, it was, he was wearing a white hoodie, sneaking through cedar trees, and he didn't see me. I was already 200 yards down this field with a really nice whitetail buck and a doe. And I'd known this whitetail buck since he was a yearling, and we were besties as far as deer and people can go. And this guy's sneaking up, white hoodie, behind tree, peeking, and the deer saw him the moment he took his first step. So the point is, in the wildest of situations, you would be in a hide, in a ground blind, and in a funnel or pinch point, or along a beaver dam, or something where animals move, and you wait it out. That is far from the most efficient way to photograph ungulates or most wildlife, but it's productive and extremely rewarding when it happens. More often, we go to places where we are going to see travel to, where we'll see the animals, and there are places for both species that we love and have changed over the years. The places I started photographing whitetails, none of them are the same as where I go now. The deer just aren't there anymore. Things changed for a variety of reasons, but other places pop up. So yeah, Drew, the strategy is the same, not a direct approach, minimize eye contact. If the animal's calm when you start and it's browsing and doing its thing, but it looks at you, then you stop, look away, like you don't even care, goes back to what it was doing. This is the same for caribou or moose, then you walk some more. And that over, a 10, 15, 20 minute period of time will reveal whether the animal is going to let you get close enough to photograph and be chill enough to behave naturally, right? That's the cue. That's the ticket for the best photography in the publishing world. It was all about behavior. So portraits are great. They are. There's no question. Environmental portraits, everybody loves those nowadays too, for any species. But to have an animal doing what it would naturally do, and there's a long list for both whitetails and mule deer of awesome behaviors to try and photograph or video, then you want them to be relaxed.
So let's talk about headgear. Let's compare antlers, right? Everybody wants the primo shot of the buck with the full rack there. Which of these two species of deer have the most impressive racks in your mind? Let's go with mule deer first.
Yeah, on average, actually, mule deer score higher than whitetails do, and they do have a more unique type of rack where their antlers come out of their head and they fork instead of just being off of one main beam. And in general, a big mule deer buck, well, not in general, on average, a big mule deer buck will score higher than a big whitetail. So that's just a fact. I'm sorry. That's not even an argument. It's not up for debate. It's just a fact. So
where can you find the biggest mule deer? Where are they?
They can be anywhere and everywhere. And that's actually kind of part of the fun is, you're paying attention to things as the year goes on, as the rut starts to come around, and you might see a buck pop up either on the winter range or in an area where they're rutting that you've never even knew existed. And that does happen. It's rare anymore just because of social media and so many people that are out there doing stuff, but it still does happen actually. And they could pop up anywhere. It could be in an urban environment. It could be out there on the winter range in Wyoming somewhere. It could be in Colorado. It could be any state. A monster buck could pop up anywhere. So that's part of the fun, actually.
In any given year, they could be anywhere. It's mystique. That's it keeps you guessing.
Well, and actually,
so where are the biggest whitetails?
Real quick, sorry, just an interesting fact, and this is probably true for whitetails too. But there's been examples of mule deer that have, we call it blow up, right? They blow up in a year, where a mule deer buck might score, they measure them by inches, and you measure the different points, and you can look that up online and see how they measure them. But they generally, 180-inch buck in a year could put on 50 inches. And, that would be an example of a buck blowing up where they just put on 50 inches of growth in a year. And that's not uncommon. It's not super common, but it's not uncommon. So it's possible. And year to year, you never know. You could see one buck that looks a certain way, and the next year they look completely different because of that type of scenario. But
so what kind of things are you looking for to tell them apart year to year then, if their racks change so much? Do they have name tags or regions where you might expect to see a certain individual creature?
So with mule deer, it's kind of like they generally tend to, and I think this is probably true regardless of whitetail or mule deer, but a buck especially will generally tend to stick to their home range within, I don't know what it's limited to. I think that depends on the state and where they're at and, kind of where they grew up, so to speak. But from year to year, they'll generally end up in the same general area from my experience. And you can generally tell by like markings on the face. You could look for a torn ear. You could look for the way their bases are out of their head. You can look, there's some, generally speaking, you can identify some unique markings that are unique to that buck that you can tell for sure it's the same deer year after year. And often their rack formation is very similar, so you can tell that way too. Once in a while, they'll do something funky and, kick out an extra beam or, they can do some really interesting things sometimes. All of a sudden they'll have drop tines one year and the next year they don't. Things like that. But you can usually identify them with face markings and ear markings and things of that nature.
So, Mark, whitetail deer are your kind of hometown deer, right? Like they're all over near you, like backyard kind of stuff. I did notice you are repping the Manitoba moose tonight with your hoodie choice. That did go. I noticed that. So first off, I was like looking
to Manitoba.
He's looking good. What's the Manitoba moose? But speaking of hometown ungulates, so have you ever traveled anywhere specifically to go photograph whitetail that are not around your home? Like are whitetails such that you have them at home, but you would still travel to go photograph whitetail somewhere else?
All the time, just like any species. And this, just quickly, the shirt is for a junior hockey team, right, in Manitoba. So, which is the awesome logo, one of the best logos in pro sports, I'd have to say. Love it. But in honor of you, Drew, in Churchill, had to wear it tonight.
Thank you.
For whitetails, right near me, they're as wild as can be. They vanish when you see them. So all of my whitetails require some traveling, whether it's a bit of a drive, and some I fly to, or are a long way away. And part of it, just like with the other species of books I've done, wanting to represent the species in all their different habitats and situations require traveling. But so it varies. Some are in Ontario, which I drive to, and then some are further afield, which I love because they're in different elements. The Western whitetails, I have the enjoyment of also photographing other species like mule deer and elk and bighorns and things while on those trips, right? So that's fun. And in the east, some places I photograph whitetails, there are also moose, but there's other things like owls and foxes and things that add on to it, to an experience. Just to add more information about identifying individuals too. Think of, somebody, a comparison I like to make when I'm giving a presentation or a talk on any of these species. Somebody who has 2 black labs or 3 black labs or 2 golden retrievers, they look at them, they know who they are, even though they look similar, right? There are subtle differences that become very apparent with time. And we, and all of you listeners too, are very keen observationists with what we do with photography. And by photographing deer from year to year, you get to know them. Once they're 5 years old or so, their antler formation, 4 or 5, when they reach maturity, is quite similar year to year, as Jason was pointing out. But they also, throat patches are another thing that's distinct. Aside from antlers, they have a different, they have a little white throat patch. Some have photographed an incredible whitetail buck out in the Rockies 2 weeks ago that just stumbled on him. It was a momentary, oh my goodness, because there were mule deer around and other species that were tolerant. The whitetails there aren't. But he had a doe in heat. And when does are, and his whitetails are so cool, when the doe in heat was in thick cover. And that's what does do for the 24 to 48 hours they're in heat. They go into a thicket with the big buck and try to hide there, so other males don't find them and chase them all over the countryside. So this doe was there, and the buck was with her, and just got a few images very quickly of an incredible animal, but fully mature. But those throat patches, I also had a mule deer that week with a double throat patch, so that was cool. Again, so pay attention to that. They're all different shapes under their chin, this whitish area. And this one had like a second white patch on his neck as well. So there's distinguishing features with individuals. It's just like people in our lives, right? The deer say the same thing about people when they're talking, right? So how do you tell those 2 photographers apart? I mean, other than that guy has a Canon lens and that guy's a Nikon, but it might change next year, right? So.
Oh, are you announcing something, Mark?
No, I was throwing it out about you, I thought.
Okay.
So in terms of which sells better? So you've got you've got a catalog of variety. You've got mule deer, you got whitetail. Which ones do best in the sales department?
This question isn't even fair. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, so you had the antler comparison. Mule deer do get bigger antlers, and they have more often get stickers and points and become non-typical. They're magnificent. Whitetails can be too. And, one of the thrills about photographing deer is every individual has different antlers. It doesn't get repetitive. And so that is so much fun and wonderfully unique. But whitetail deer don't grow as massive antlers as mule deer, but I mean, they're still magnificent and have a lot of character, and especially once they reach maturity. And that's a bonus if you find a place where they do get old enough to be fully mature, right? 5 to 10 years of age. They're almost all of them become incredible photo subjects at that time. The reason whitetails, aside from maybe being a little more charismatic, just kidding, sell better is simply because they're across more of the continent, right? They're coast to coast almost. And it's so the market, the appeal, the familiarity of people to whitetail deer is greater. But there has been an interesting trend that I'm not a fan of, that whitetail deer are awesome in so many ways, right? How many people, when they spot a deer, say, look, a deer? It's with that excitement. right? Just driving down a back road, whenever it might be. It's a wonderful sighting to see a deer. But they're so successful that in some urban areas, not so much big cities, but smaller towns, and they've become nuisances in some areas. People want to have nice flower beds. Well, that's not always possible if there's an habituated deer population nearby. And then they become thought of as like this vermin or pests, which, I mean, they're graceful, they're beautiful, they're elegant, and so robust and as well. So I've never viewed them that way, and not a fan of it. But obviously, in situations where they're adaptable, right? It's like coyotes in cities. They, if given the opportunity, they will adapt and do well in a variety of situations, and more so than mule deer. I mean, mule deer, as far as rural situations, do happen as well. But that's one of the differences in the competition between the species. Mule deer may have bigger antlers amongst those exceptional individuals, but white-tailed deer are a more aggressive species toward the other.
Yeah, but mule deer's necks get bigger, their capes get gray, they just look better, they get bigger bodied.
They're about this. They do as a rule, but
Yep.
some of the biggest whitetail bodies here in Canada can rival a mule deer.
Oh, for sure, but not on average.
But that's still, did that answer the question? So which one sells better?
Oh, whitetail,
whitetails.
no question.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Drew, for bringing that around.
Okay, so you're saying somebody from Virginia is not going to hang a mule deer photo on their wall?
Not unless they have a cabin out west and want to be reminded of their vacation home. No, I mean, whitetails are, they're just, it's like
whitetails are everywhere. They're almost like rats.
Oh, stop.
Oh, and I do think most people in Virginia probably have a place out west too these days. It kind of seems like sometimes.
Sure. Well, that's where whitetails were named from, right? Odocoileus virginianus is the Latin name. So they first were named from the East Coast, but
I'd like to say I knew that when I brought up Virginia, but I totally did not. Yeah. can't, I was not thinking that far ahead. So which are smarter?
Oh, there's a new question. Ooh, nice.
I mean, you can look at it from how they evade predators, how they just go about their daily life. Can they do algebra? Like where are we talking on the intelligence spectrum here?
I think for me, the mule deer are smarter, and let me give you a couple of reasons why. Their ears are made for being able to hear predators coming from a long distance. They're also
like F-35s.
Yeah, right.
I could hear those.
There's no question that's coming. Their eyes, I think they can see like 320 degrees because of the way their eyes are placed on their heads. They're because of their antler formation, they're a little bit more formidable when it comes to fighting off predators because of the shape of their antlers. Mark's over here rolling his eyes a little bit. But I think, a whitetail, what do they have? As they run away, they have a big white flag saying, "Here I am, come eat me."
No, that's actually communication amongst the species where they care about each other and let the other ones nearby know there's a threat. The purpose of the tail is twofold. They flash it, which lets
Here
the
I
other
am,
one...
predator.
No, it's actually the opposite. They flash it to let other members know there's a threat nearby, but they want the predator to see it, to say, you know what, I'm on to you, or they're on to the predator, and they're faster than the predator. In virtually all cases, there are no cheetahs here in North America. So if the deer spots the predator and isn't at close proximity, it flashes a whitetail and to let the predator know it's busted and it's gone. So it's super smart. And here's where, hold on to your seats, everybody. Here's where the whitetail shows it's smarter, because when the predator is super close, the tail doesn't come up. The tail stays down until they've made enough distance that they feel they can show the predator. They just get out of there. So, if I've been walking through the brush and there's a bedded buck there that I didn't know, I mean, that happens to everybody, right? How many animals have watched just walk by and it busts out of its bed? That tail's not up until it's gone a few bounds off and it's going, right? It's so whitetails are very smart and intuitive.
Well, that's a stretch. I don't know. That was a good stretch.
What makes you think mule deer are so smart?
Like I said, I think it's just they tend to hang in areas where they have less predators. Mule deer are taken out quite a bit by mountain lions. So that is one thing that's probably more unique about differences between whitetail and mule deers. Between mule deer and whitetail is the type of predators that tend to focus on them. But I think they're all vulnerable to things like coyotes and other predators for sure, bears and things like that, especially with the fawns and stuff. But I think mule deer tend to try to hang out in more, especially a big smart mule deer buck will tend to. They are very difficult to find. A big wild mule deer buck that lives in the high country is a very formidable animal to find, and
because of the high country.
Because of the high country where they choose to live, which is smart.
Where there are mountain lions.
Where there are mountain lions, which they generally can avoid. Because of those amazing racks. And I want to correct something real quick, too. I was off on my numbers like by a factor of 10. The mule deer, there's about 4 million, and whitetails are around 35 million, not 40 and 350. So just a real quick correction.
That's quite a voting block there.
That is a difference for sure. So please don't crucify me in the comments.
So let's start with the mule deer on this one. And if you were to conjure the perfect, like go into the AI of your brain and conjure the perfect mule deer image, describe it.
Yeah, for me, that would be picture. Have you seen the movie Bambi?
It's been a couple years.
Every weekend.
Oh, right. So there's a couple that pop into my head. One is it's always been that, the big buck standing on a rock outcropping with a gorgeous landscape behind it. But anything for me is anything that's in more of a high country setting with snow and with aspens and pine trees and things like that and sagebrush all mixed together makes for an incredible mule deer image. And especially if you can kind of get some of that with some like scenic mountain backdrops as well. That for me, that is the ultimate mule deer shot.
So kind of that classic Western vibe.
I mean, they are the icon of the West. Whitetails are not the icon of anything. They are, because mule deer are so specific to an area, they are the icon of the West.
Are they? Okay. Now, just so our listeners know, just for clarity, you're saying that over elk, are you?
They absolutely. Listen, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If mule deer bugled, there would be no argument here. They would be my favorite by far. Bar none.
Bugle's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat that rut activity with the bugling and stuff. If mule deer made noises like a bugle, it'd be pretty hard to beat. So, I mean, mule deer, there's so much more, like they do other things, like their necks swell up, the way some of their rutting behaviors.
So do whitetail.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that. I mean, I don't, as far as their rutting behaviors now, I'm just comparing them to elk. To your question, Mark.
Oh, I see the elk. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but an ex-elk doesn't generally swell up in that, but a mule deer and a whitetail too, their necks get real big, and it's nothing more cool in my mind than a giant mule deer buck when his neck's all swollen up and standing there. I've seen some pretty incredible photos of, not ones I've taken, unfortunately, but other folks have taken that just giant mule deer bucks with big swollen necks, and that's pretty cool. It just looks beefy. Mean.
Well, give a shout out to your favorite mule deer photographer. When we hang up here tonight, who should I go look up on Instagram for the best mule deer shots out there.
That's not even fair. There's a few. Yeah. Mark would definitely be one. Ron
I'm
would
kidding.
be
And are
another.
they using the Jason Loftus presets that we always talk about with your Lightroom
waiting
that
to
you
jump in on that. Yes.
No, there's quite a few actually. I mean, I could name quite a few, and Harlan's one that comes to mind because he's always focused on big mule deer. Harlan Cooper, but there's Dale France, who's been around for quite a long time and done a lot of mule deer stuff. Peter Eads, actually, he's more of an artist, but he does photography as well, and he's got some incredible mule deer photos. There's a ton of guys out there that do some really good stuff, and as of late, even there's a lot of guys that really make some really nice images. Ben J Photo, for those of you who don't know, he's a younger guy that has just had some incredible stuff. The Creekbed Boys, Gary and Mitch, they have some incredible mule deer stuff. I mean, I could go on and on. There's quite a few folks that focus on mule deer that have a pretty nice collection. So there's a few to start with, and if I missed you, I'm sorry, guys. I got put on the spot.
Hey, so Mark, now let's back up a question and go back to you describing the perfect whitetail scene, and then throw out some. So what are some good resources for whitetail imagery?
Cornfields.
That's a fact that whitetails are so adaptable that agricultural scenes,
Oh man,
forest
I'm just be quiet.
is a great area because they have such a varied food source, and that's something that has helped them succeed more than mule deer across the country. Is that their diet is more of a generalist too, and they can take advantage of that. As far as settings, for the perfect whitetail shot, there's so many possibilities. Honestly, that's what I love about wildlife photography. It can create so many favorites over years of experiences. It's hard to pick one. But if Drew, our moderator, who's judging this podcast today, wants to know my favorite, I'm gonna tell him. This one is a hardwood ridge with 2/3 of the leaves in late October fallen to the forest floor, but 1/3 still in the trees, giving that hue of color. But on an overcast day, having nice even light through the hardwoods, but on a ridge, maybe above a creek or a stream, and just this real big woods setting with color and a robust animal. Not just the buck, though. A buck with a doe in the foreground, beside or below, adjacent to him. And the doe, you can't really see her as well. So she's secretive. He's there tending and guarding her from other males. And it tells that story in the picturesque autumn scene. Maybe a bit of frost.
And you've taken that picture? No, that's the perfect picture.
I know I'm not saying I have a perfect picture. I wouldn't be so bold. I have a lot of pictures I love. I have pictures of deer in that setting, not necessarily with the stream or creek in the same view, or I might have. I'd have to look back. But
hold on, say that all again. I'm typing in my AI prompt right now.
Yeah, I want to talk about AI at some point today because I've been doing some dives in AI.
Whitetail AI?
No,
we don't want them to have that power.
No, and the animals can't have it. And I'm wondering. I mean, it has benefits for us, and no, AI is not in my vocabulary when it comes to application to anything to do with creating images that I collect in the field. The AI segue that has got me curious right now is we all photographers, odds are if you're listening to this podcast, thank you, and you're probably into photography and like collecting lots of images, but the mirrorless cameras, it's, we finish a season, which is, I'm at this pivoting point between being away for 3.5 months and now thinking about editing these images, but there's so many. Can AI help there? Are there AI programs that can do 80% of the editing now? Because we have, obviously we culled them down. You may, let's say, pick 1,000 images from the year And that's for people who are shooting a lot. I know everybody's different out there and respect those differences, but whatever you pick your favorite images, and it's daunting to edit them. Can AI help with that? Obviously in the future, but even on the smartphones, right? I find when I put an image on the smartphone, hit auto adjust, sometimes it's like, oh, well, that was interesting, right? When will it save us photographers time? It's like a photo editing assistant. If AI becomes good enough that it will do that for us. One caveat that I'm immediately asking about is the rights to the images when uploaded to AI editing software. It looks like from initial searches they have the rights to use it for education of the software, but nothing more. I'm hoping, but there's that to be aware of. Anyway, workflow, right? Workflow takes our time. If I could take that 6 months of editing out of my year schedule, that would be heavenly.
You might want to do some digging, Mark, because I'm pretty sure that already exists with some pretty capable.
Yeah, there's some software programs that I look. Well, I got the information on today, but anyway, little segue because shouldn't ignore what's happening with AI. There's going to be good and bad elements, but what are the good ones that can help us?
Well, back to using this, you could take all of your moose photos. You have books and books of moose photos that you could just use AI and change them all to whitetail deer.
Well, I have more whitetail deer photos than moose photos.
Well, but now they can all be whitetail.
Yeah, I see. Yes. It's go with
the whitetail and the mule deer debate. So this next one is a story problem, right? So imagine you're driving a 2002 Chevy Impala going 70 miles an hour on the highway. Which one is going to do more damage, a whitetail or a mule deer?
Whitetail, no question. And here's why, because you're going to be way more likely to encounter a whitetail on a road. Matter of fact, it's a very common issue and problem, back to the comments Mark made about sometimes they tend to be looked at as vermin and stuff like that. Those were your words, if I remember correctly. But
I say the irony of this was last week. I told the story in a recent podcast. We were waiting for this wolf to come out of this winter wonderland to feed on this mule deer buck carcass that had gone down into this creek bed, but it had been clipped by a car to have been there. I didn't see any dead whitetails on that trip from cars.
No, that's a good point. But I bet you if you looked up some numbers, I bet you whitetail car collisions are by far a major contributor to insurance costs across the country.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's areas, but if you compare the population across the continent, the math adds up.
I don't think so. I bet you you could. I don't think it would show out. I don't think it would. So I don't have that data in front of me. In all fairness, Drew.
Well, mule deer have much longer migrations, right? One of the longest land migrations in North America is 150 miles or so from a wintering ground for mule deer, and that puts them at much higher risk than whitetails that have an average home range of 1.5 miles. So,
well, so the other thing that is amazing about that 100-mile migration is it tends to have them help fertilize and spread the nutrients and disperse nutrients across the landscape. So there's some serious benefits to that.
Talk about collisions and dead animals.
I'm gonna look up some numbers for you, Drew, before you make your final decision, because I'm positive.
So I was just thinking about one time I was actually, this is in Washington D.C. We're talking about urban wildlife. I was taking a taxi in Washington D.C. and we're right by the Naval Observatory where the vice president lives, and we hit a deer. We hit a white-tailed deer. It just freaked the cab driver out. It slid across the hood and then just kept right on running. It was kind of one of the wilder urban experiences I've had. I've never had any run-ins with mule deer though. Literally.
Yeah, right.
Just a moose. I did hit a moose once. That was
You did?
that was quite
Well, there's
wild.
no question what
Yeah.
will do more damage between those three.
Well, so it was
Glad
back
you're
in
here.
it was 1999, and I was driving, turning an arm, right. It's water on one side, mountain on the other. It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm trying to get back down to Sterling, and this I look in the rearview mirror. There's a car behind me. I look forward, and there's just a cow moose head levitating in front of my Jeep Wrangler. And I tried to swerve, and I hit it, and I didn't survive. And then after I hit it, a van came around the bend and clipped it and did a flat spin in the road. So now the legs are going parallel to traffic. And then do you guys remember Geo Metros?
Oh, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
little Geo Metros. So a Geo Metro came ripping from down turning an arm. This is right at Indian Road. And it drives up the legs of the moose. And so it ramps it. And I mean, it's a full grown cow moose. And this Geo Metro goes flying through the air. And I'm on the phone with the trooper saying, "Oh my God, send the paramedics. I don't know what I've just witnessed." So it comes crashing down on the other side, and the suspension bottoms out, sparks shooting everywhere. And then moment of hesitation, and it just kept right on going. Didn't even stop. Yeah. Sorry to
The
go on
Alaskan
a tangent
lifestyle.
into the moose. It was just, that was wild. That was late 90s at least. Holy cow.
Wow.
Well, anyway, so I'm coming down. I'm feeling close to making my decision. But I had one last question that Jason actually inspired when he mentioned bugling earlier. And so I think each of you should take a second and try to call in one of your respective species right here on YouTube and the podcast. And this is what we can weigh in and have the audience, the listeners, weigh in on social media and decide who does the better call. Like pretend like it is, I mean, we're a little late for the rut right now, but pretend like we're still in the thick of the rut. And I'd like to hear your best mule deer call and your best whitetail.
No devices, Jason. No devices.
I was not prepared for this.
This is
how I
still
get
the second rut for whitetails is happening right now. They cycle
so
into
just open the
heat
window.
28 days later. Oh, it's happening. Any doe that wasn't bred successfully in the November rut, 28 days later cycles back into heat. And very, very few have this happen because most, the rut is efficient at what it's supposed to do for the mating season, but some do. So 28 days later. So there are 2 or 3 does out there in heat, and
Same with
boys
mule
that
deer.
are running and calling and
Let's go ahead and call them in, Mark. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I need one call from each of you. This will be the deciding factor on which one is better. So all this other stuff we've talked about really does not matter, and it will come down completely to Mark or Jason's call.
Go for it, Mark. Go for it.
I'm, Drew, I'm sweating here, and I'm so relieved though that you didn't have to move and jump and run like a deer. We can just call from our seat. Yeah,
I just know you're elegant and graceful already, Mark.
Oh, wow. Kind and sweet. All right. So whitetail deer have a variety of vocalizations, a whole bunch of them, and from bleats and grunts to tending grunts to their alarm call, their blow of the air that you hear if you startle a deer, and a snort wheeze when they're aggressive. One male threatening another last moment before a fight often makes that warning call where they curl their lips up and upper lip and make the snort wheeze. But deer themselves, being a prey species, are quite quiet. So this, I can speak for Jason. It's a skill, right? You don't hear them very often. And
No, you don't. You don't.
Jason's going to get the mule deer bugle down perfectly. And as far as a whitetail, Well, I'll double down. I'll double down and I'll do a grunt and then a snort wheeze after that.
I was hoping you'd snort wheeze. That's why I asked.
He's wetting his whistle.
Liquid courage there.
A little liquid courage. It's funny, when you do it on demand. But I talk to animals all the time, so I do it better usually. It's a buck, just a grunt. It's a snort wheeze that they make to one another. Now, this is at that. If you just heard that, you should just be listening to the audio podcast, not watching YouTube.
Yeah, it's hard to not make faces when you're doing these noises. That's for sure.
That's just good content right there.
Yeah, right.
That was probably the best human snort wheeze I've ever experienced. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mark.
It means so much, Drew.
All right.
Thank you,
Jason.
All right, so
you've had some time to think about it here.
I have, and I've seen the performance, so I know where the bar is set. So that's a little bit of an advantage for me, I think. But no, it's funny that the differences. There's not a lot of differences in the vocalizations that they make. Actually, I will mix it up a little bit just because one of the things that can be very effective if you're trying to call in a mule deer is that they actually make the sound of a fawn in distress. And what will happen, because the does will generally come to a fawn in distress, and of course the bucks are going to be following the does that are hot. So I think that's a more effective way to call in a mule deer. Mark, I'm just throwing that out there. And it's, I'm not going to be able to do it perfect, but I'll, it's just a really low pitch or a high pitched kind of.
These are high stakes, though. Like you better hope it's perfect.
Right, I know, right? But. There's the fawn in distress.
I heard a sound like that on a movie that had something to do with a river in the Virginia swamps.
You were waiting for that one. That set me up.
I was ready.
But you said their vocalizations are barely. So is a mule deer snort wheeze? Like
yes, I'm going to do that next. I was going to do the snort wheeze too. Yep.
Because that's a more head-to-head competition.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right. So the snort wheeze for mule deer. So.
There were no devices, no whoopee cushions.
No devices. No devices. Isn't that incredible? Like, I honestly probably enter some contests. But
are there contests for that?
I highly doubt it.
There should be. There should be.
I've never heard
elk calls for sure, but yeah.
Oh man, that just made my decision so difficult. Like I was I don't know what I was hoping for, but I was hoping for, I don't know, clarity. A moment of clarity would emerge from the snort wheeze, impromptu snort wheeze competition. But shoot, I think I'm going to have to call it a draw. Like both of those, you've now done that online, so that is going to live with you for the rest of your days.
Such a setup.
Nicely done, Drew.
Mark. You're recording this. You're recording this, right? Remember?
I already hit stop.
But really, like I was very impressed with both your arguments. We talked about the versatility of the whitetails. We talked about the durability of the mule deer. We talked about how, the different body size, the iconic place that both of these animals have in North American wildlife lore. And then the snort wheeze was roughly equivalent. And so I'm going to call it a draw. I'm sorry. I've just wasted an hour of everyone's time here, but really I see them being roughly equal.
Yeah.
Well, you're leaving it up to the listeners then.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to have to weigh in.
Very diplomatic.
This is going to spark a lively debate, and I think we'll put the two snort wheezes side by side, and then do an Instagram poll.
Yeah. I like it.
I think they may have to listen to the podcast, or if they must, watch it on YouTube. But yeah, I don't see a social media Snort Wheeze comparison.
That's
But
that's give the people what they want.
Listen, JJ
yeah,
could put together a clip of us in comparison for us for social media. That might be kind of fun.
that's how we get viral. Eh? That's how we build our success. It's I appreciate it, Drew, and Jason. Yeah, I mean, mule deer as well as anybody on this planet. So let's leave it up to the audience to weigh in and send message. We'll do a post on Instagram of some sort to refer to this, and then let the votes fly.
Oh, well, I do want to thank you both for having me back on here. It was super fun to come and see. Ron didn't have anything to be scared of. That was a perfectly civilized debate. Though we didn't get to the actual bottom of anything at all, I know I learned a lot about both of these two species, and I look forward to being able to see both of them out in the wild sometime in the future.
Always a pleasure to spend time with you, Drew. Your sense of humor and personality is you're one of my favorites. So thank you for coming on to do this and to make it even more interesting by moderating it the exceptional way you did, just in a friendly way to let our listeners know that one of us won't be leaving the podcast because of today's episode, that we will both still be on.
Thanks to the draw.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Keeping the peace. That's what I do.
We had the wager beforehand. The loser would have to leave the show. So, just kidding. That's something that comes up in questions for people is, do whitetail and mule deer do or can they interbreed? And in a friendly closing for this episode, it does happen. It's very rare. I know of places where there's healthy populations of both, and you don't come around each corner and see a hybrid. And when it does happen, they can carry attributes of each species, but they're usually and they can reproduce, but they usually not as successful as they are as a mule deer or a white-tailed deer. And in all my years of photographing them, I've never seen one myself that I'm confident was in a mix of mule deer and white-tailed deer, but it can happen. And observationally, it's fun. And, the white-tailed deer rut is just slightly before the mule deer, but they overlap, so the energies are there. But it's like they pass each other on the street, usually, kind of thing. Well, in the field, let's be more accurate. In the field, and don't usually pay much mind to one another, which is interesting, given the energy they show the individuals of the same species. So, fun stuff. Yeah. So it's amicable at the end.
Real quick too. I think it's a good, this was fun. I had a lot of fun, and in all seriousness, I think they're both incredible. And we had some fun with this about which one's best. And we all have our opinions on it, but they're both incredible. And just a quick note with the mule deer, they actually are in decline across the West, right? So if you are interested in helping support the conservation efforts of mule deer, there's multiple organizations out there. Won't name any because you can go find them yourselves. But if you are interested in helping try to conserve those critters and help them maintain some numbers, a lot of it comes down to winter range and range availability and the value or the quality of the winter range. And there's a lot of efforts being done by organizations out there to help with that. So whitetail aren't they tend to be growing and are in a pretty healthy condition because of their variety of diet and their ability to, adapt to different scenarios more than mule deer. But yeah, in all seriousness, mule deer are struggling across the West. So just a side note there. But
yeah, it's a good one. Good to mention that. Yeah, both are amazing species. Both are so fun to photograph, so photogenic, and encourage you to get to know them if you don't already. And for those that do, there's so many of you that do it exceptionally well. It's always a pleasure to see your work on social media and elsewhere. Drew, it's always a pleasure. In closing, Aurora season starting up in Churchill, one of the best places on planet Earth to experience it.
I did my first time lapse last night. Like I went out and put it out, and so yeah, here as the bay freezes, our skies are going to get very clear. So we still have a little ways yet to go. Our Aurora season, we technically don't start up till February 1st. But last year, we're trying to beat last year's numbers. And last year, we went 24 of 28 nights in February. And in March, we went 27 of 31. And then you kind of lose count. Your brain is fried. You haven't slept in 2 months. Like it's really hard to count much higher than that. So we hope for those numbers are slightly better. But everything's shaping up. The bears are pretty much moved out. They haven't gotten very far. Like the ice is basically just to the horizon, but that's enough to get at least our local bears gone. I haven't heard any cracker shells or anything going on. And probably going on a week now. It's been oddly quiet. All the people are gone, and so we're turning towards Christmas here. We've got the big Christmas market this weekend, and big Christmas party the weekend after. So we're going to be kind of hunkering in for the holidays here. We're going to go skiing this weekend. Although we're pushing minus 40, so we'll see how much skiing we get in.
That's awesome. And so you offer tours for Aurora as well, right?
Yeah. So one of the things I like about Aurora, so I chased Aurora for 25 years in Alaska before I moved here. And, Churchill's a little tricky to get to. Once you're here, it's pretty easy. Like we go out, we've got 50 miles of road. We got a variety of foreground elements. When everything gets frozen up, we can poke out onto the sea ice, or we can go out onto the river ice. We've got Churchill's fantastic one-sided trees. We've got gnarly rocks, all sorts of cool stuff. Maybe some ice reflections once we get the wind machine going. But yeah, it's all just right here. So we do these 3 and 4 night. Got to switch. The main event is at night, 3 or 4 night tours, and it's just if you've been to Churchill and you've seen it when it's at its craziest, it's a nice, quiet, authentic time to be here. So if you come visit in February, you can really say, yes, I have been to Churchill.
Yeah, for sure.
I've eaten at both the restaurants.
Oh, well, that says it all. Options are there. Your Northern Light images with the ribbons of light, and not just the pulsating sky of green and red. The ribbons and designs, the way that flows, they're remarkable there. So it's something to consider. And your company's discovered Churchill. Jason and I have had the enjoyment of being with you for polar bears, and highly recommend that experience. You guys looked after, on my account, very well, and
same. Yep.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So
I just saw Drew a couple weeks ago, actually. So yeah.
Yeah, I got to spend several days staring at the back of Jason's head. That's how I know everybody.
Yeah,
in the back of their head.
Oh, so we should have done
turned around. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Mark, have you been here the whole time? Oh no, it was so much fun, and meeting the rest of your crew, and yeah. But now it's quiet. And actually, I've got my main gig coming up here. The kids have all gone to bed. I'm Santa at the town Christmas party.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So I got the beard, and it starts up here. Yeah. So I've got the Santa suit. It's going to be working overtime here for the next couple weeks. So yeah, it's not necessarily work related, but it's a busy time for us.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fun way to give back, and you just have to be a little more cheerful than you normally are, right? So
it's a stretch. I know. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
one of the nicest guys out there. So yeah.
But my wife's been giving me a hard time. Like, I don't know. Like, You guys probably knew me back when this was all red. Now it's getting near Santa status. So a couple more years here, I won't even need the fake beard.
Oh, you do? Don't say you do that. Your beard's too awesome. You put a fake one over? You go white?
I have to, because it's not well, and I have to live with these people. I can't be Santa 365.
Right.
That's awkward.
Yeah. You don't want.
I want them to act natural.
Sure. That'd be a lot of pressure, Drew. Yeah, 365. Yeah, day in, day out, being simple. I get it.
So many cookies.
Yeah. Gets you through the winter. Well, thank you for the laughs today, and for being a good sport and participating in this. And as I said, both species of deer are wonderful to photograph all year long. Fawns, winter, antlers, the antler cycles, so much to dive into with these subjects. And just as signing off, thank you to you both tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we're all still friends. And the Picture Line and Canon USA for being outstanding sponsors of our podcast. If you're looking for anything camera gear related, obviously contact Picture Line, ask for Colin, telling him you're coming from the podcast, and he'll look after you exceptionally well. And we did a Instagram post today on the day of this recording that the merch site on beyondthewildpodcast.com is active. It's a wonderful small business in Ron's hometown that produces these, and it's great for yourselves as well as gifts for loved ones, stocking stuffers. There's a variety of merchandise and swag available on our website for direct order, and please have a look at that. And thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Drew, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Jason, was that a whitetail on your hat?
That's a good way to end it for sure.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Drew.
Peace out. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild Podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.